Hi, it's me. Happy Beltane. It's the 1st of May here in the north. It is the first day of summer. I'm sitting outside, as you can tell, on a interesting day. It's been raining here for the last week, which is great because there was a drought. Um, Last night was Walpurgisnacht. If you don't know what that is in German, it's Witch's Night, as it were, popularized by Faust. Walpurgis was actually a saint. There's an older celebration before that, but it roughly corresponds with the Celtic Beltane. May 1st being Beltane, August 30th, yesterday being Walpurgisnacht. So I'm outside, not far from the place that I'm staying. I apologize for the street noise. I'll do a little pause. That's a bus going by. Oh no, that's a tractor. I'll do little pauses when vehicles come by. Humans are so loud, huh? Bye. Yeah. So I'll do little pauses whenever traffic comes by. But the place I'm sitting is it's kind of a small estuary. Not an estuary. It's a wetland. When there aren't traffic, when there isn't traffic, you can probably hear the birds. There's also, it's been flying around a little bit. I'm gonna try to catch it, but it's not so easy to do. What is it? Royal kites. I forgot the German word for it. Oh no, I remember. The German word for a kite, both the sort that you fly and also the bird, is Drak or Draken, like dragon. In fact, dragons and kites are kind of the same word for them. Go away, tractor. There's a lot of farmland around here. In fact, right behind the house where I stay, there are always cows. It's really cute. They kind of sleep in the field right behind, so you get to kind of watch them. But yeah, so this is I guess my fifth video now, fourth video, fifth. I'm sorry, I don't remember how to count. I'm a little spacey today, as you can tell. Last night was good. I burned a small fire. Today, as I said, it's Beltane. It's a little weird not being with a lot of people during this. You're probably all experiencing this too, especially if you've kind of been used to going to festivals or whatever for Beltane. And you saw, I'll point it out again, I have some hawthorn flowers. It's interesting. In the British Isles, the hawthorn is the symbol of Beltane. In France, it's the maguey. There's a couple of them. Kind of cute little flowers, but they also blossom at right about the same time that hawthorns do. And I guess the closer you get to Germany, the more often they use beech. They make crowns out of beech branches. And then apparently they'll process them around. No one's doing that today, of course, confinement. And a lot of that traditional stuff has sort of been disappearing here, which is sad. There's still a lot more than in the United States, but not as much. But anyway, so they process around with this wreath or a crown of beech, and then eventually hang it up on their doors for good luck. A bit like what the Irish do with Bridget's crosses. Yeah, I feel a little sad for the world. It's weird to have a sad Beltane. I'm not personally sad. I'm actually very happy. My life is great. It's just weird how everything has changed in the world. How some of those things were good, I guess, to have changed, but you know, it's strange to think that there are not huge festivals right now and might not be for a while. In fact, I read in the news there was a large Swedish town that in order to prevent people from doing Walpurgisnacht celebrations last night, they spread chicken shit, literally, or manure from chickens all over the grass of all of the public parks. reasoning that, well, one, it was good for the park, for the grass, and two, no one would want to sit in chicken shit all night. And those things make me sad. I understand. With the confinement. But also, there's sometimes this fear that we've already lost so much, you know? We've lost, like, so many of our, like, old ancestral traditions. No matter what your ancestors were, you know, if you're black, you lost most of them because of African slavery. If you're indigenous, you lost them because of colonization in the United States. If you're European, you lost it because of whiteness. You know, in fact, that's kind of what I wanted to talk about in relationship to Beltane and all of these other things. Whiteness is an erasure of all of those ancestral traditions. When people left Europe, you know, they didn't take many of the traditions with them because they were fleeing. Most of them were already poor. And then in Europe, you know, the same thing happens. You know, Christianity kind of replaced a lot of it, and then sort of secularism, the Enlightenment, but mostly capitalism replaced all of this. That instead of villages weaving together beech branches or hawthorn branches or maguey, you know, we can just go buy things, and that's kind of become our identity now. And one of the most important things I think that drew me to paganism in the first place was the fact that it kind of, you know, it gave a different option for reconnecting to identity, you know, outside of capitalism. Although paganism tends to be pretty capitalist, or pagans tend to be. Go to a pagan festival, you'll see it. And you know, it also kind of offered an opportunity to kind of reconnect to the way the world works, you know? I mean, it's Beltane. The whole reason why Beltane or any of these other holidays have kind of been revived was during the pagan revival movement. They started, you know, saying, hey, these old holidays, these make sense. They're solar holidays. They, you know, they fit in with the rotation of the Earth, well, the orbit of the Earth around the sun. But they also kind of draw us a little bit closer to the rhythms and patterns of life. It's interesting. I know there's a lot of conversations sometimes in America where, you know, the old pagan holidays don't really quite fit in with the calendar, and you know, and I've a friend who's written a lot like, oh no, we need to, you know, change these don't make any sense. But it's interesting. You know, the man I love was talking. Well, actually, I was talking with her too, to his mother. You know, she's an old Catholic. She's Catholic, and her parents were Catholic, etc., etc. She's also old Luxembourgeois. You know, their family have been here for a long time. They're very rooted in it, in this place. In fact, literally in the house that I'm staying in. It's generations have been living in here. And when he had mentioned to her, you know, the way that I kind of do calendars, you know, where, you know, I see May 1st as the beginning of summer. She's like, yeah, actually that makes sense. That makes sense for here. And she's right, it does. You know, although it's gray day today, you know, everything started getting very hot just the week before. The way that the agricultural stuff is working here is a lot more what you would expect to see with the beginning of summer than you would, you know, middle of spring, as it were, according to the Gregorian calendar, the Catholic calendar, as it were. So it was interesting to hear her say, yeah, you know, that actually fits. That fits exactly the way, you know, we recounted off of them, you know, June 21st, instead of being, you know, the first day of summer. She's like, no, that's the middle of summer, which is funny because that's officially what the pagan calendar has it. So it's interesting that that's actually just, it's much more rooted in the rhythm of life here than, you know, a lot of our other kind of modern artificial constructs, I guess. And yeah, so I think about that, and I think about, you know, yeah, it's necessary to kind of suppress some of these things, but, You know, it made me sad to hear that, you know, the city was like, no, we need to make sure that all of nature's, well, all of the available nature, the parks in the city are completely covered in chicken shit so that nobody goes out and dances or drinks together. Which, I've talked about the enclosure movements before in a previous video, last week's video actually. Uh, when capitalism came about in England, when they got rid of the commons, when they closed them off, the enclosures, one of the things that did was also break up festivals. It broke up peasant festivals. It broke up folk festivals. It made it impossible because there was no longer a village green. There was no longer a commons where everybody could go out and dance on the night that they were going to dance on, depending on what the festival was. So, not that I think this is all planned or anything like that. I think it's just what we are sacrificing right now in this crisis kind of shows, it's no different from what we've already sacrificed. It's totally acceptable for people to stay home and shop online or watch Netflix, which, I'm guilty of doing that. I've both shopped online and I was watching Netflix a little bit today. But those things are acceptable, but what's not acceptable is, meeting out in public or doing pagan things. And that makes me sad, but as I said, that's just kind of a symptom of our culture. I don't think there's any specific attempt to kind of stamp out these things right now. They've been stamped out so many times for so long in so many different groups of people that, I don't know if I can just show you. Oh, sorry, 2 very large ravens. I saw the kite again, but I'm not sure if I can catch it. Maybe if I do see it, I'll try to add an extra little bit to this video, or maybe I'll catch it next week. Anyway, I hope you're all well. I deeply appreciate all of your support. I hope your Beltane's good. I hope you have hope. Even if sometimes it doesn't feel very hopeful, humanity always kind of finds a way. All of these other things find a way. Here I am, out with a hawthorn branch talking about Beltane, because it's Beltane. No, there's no maypole around, there's no wild sex parties going on. I'm a bit gay. But, it's still here. The earth kind of survives, even though we forget that. So, I hope you're well, and I will talk to you again next week. Bye.